Morning, everybody. This is Jillian yet again, straight at you from Canton, Ohio. Wanted to just say good morning and give you like a 24-hour recap or, um, I don't know, 24-hour update on the Jilly Juice world, the daily life of Jillian. I know that it's crazy that somebody goes on every single day and talks about maybe the same stuff or a little bit different stuff, but it's all about reinforcing some really very, very important concepts. And so yesterday, I focused on the Hippocratic Oath and why it is that the juice would not be tested in a lab on any specific person. And the reason is because biotech and the the American Medical Association does not want to inflict pain upon any of their patients publicly. Okay, now we know people have done things in the past where they would do experimentation. Now, I don't think they belong to the AMA. I think they were like rogue doctors that did experimentation on people. So that's why biotech uses a lot of animals, because animals don't fall under the Hippocratic Oath, though they are cracking down on a lot of animal experimentation too. But, they still have to use animals because it's what people want. They're looking for pain modifications. They're looking for new drugs to manage their pain. And so I was looking for, because I knew yesterday intuitively that the Hippocratic Oath would never ever do and promote Jilly Juice to the point to where they say, okay, do it, feel pain, enjoy the pain, not really, but understand pain is healing. A doctor would never, ever say to their patient, pain is healing. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Because, first of all, the doctors aren't trained to understand about the prostaglandin hormone. Okay? That's first of all. Second of all, the patient, they're dealing with a cross-section of so many different types of people that it would go right over the head. And the doctor doesn't even know about the prostaglandin hormone and the fact that it aids in the healing process. So they wouldn't, even if they knew about it and they withheld the information, they still wouldn't be able to get that across to their patients. So the doctor would never ever say, well, drink enough to then get to the pain, enjoy the pain, and then, call me in the morning, let me know how it goes. No, they're like, hey, okay, you don't want pain? Well, we can find ways to prevent you from getting in pain. So first, what the Hippocratic Oath is, before they apply drugs, they will do preventative maintenance. What is that? That's vaccines, that's baby checkups, that's child checkups. It's all the things that they do with the insurance companies of what they'll pay for as far as visits, and then any other preventative type of visits. So that's the first thing that doctors and hospitals and the AMA are required to do, is first go through the preventative portion of it. Then if that doesn't work and a person still sustains some kind of sickness, then it's managing the pain. And that's where they have these pain charts where you're 1 to 10, and you got to tell them, well, I'm a 5 and this is what I feel like, or I'm a 10, this is what I feel like. They have to then go and put measures in place, do something, and they have to balance out how much drugs could they give you ethically before they start violating the Hippocratic Oath, where it starts destroying the person. So that's why they've been cracking down on doctors that have been writing prescriptions for painkillers for people who are drug addicts. Okay, so the doctors are walking a fine line, balancing between their ethics and their profession, and then the good of their client or their patient, and then also the money. Okay, so there's 3 things that doctors have to balance out: is who they're beholden to, which is the AMA, and then the client, and then the money. Okay, and some doctors were like, they don't care about the AMA or the client, they're all about the money. And that's why you see these people getting all these crazy ass prescriptions written from one doctor, and then they have all these in their these prescriptions and they go and sell them to each, that people buy a bunch of them and sell them, or they just use them. So I was looking up, so I knew intuitively that the Hippocratic Oath had to do with pain. And I know that doctors don't want their clients to be in pain, but I had to find out the substantiation. I had to substantiate and back up my claims that it is about the Hippocratic Oath and why doctors would never, or naturopathics would never, back up Jilly Juice in the way that Jilly Juice is intended, and it's because of that pain. So I looked it up and found this interesting site, which I didn't really look the background of this site. I just saw that it was a Hippocratic Oath and it came from Italy, which doesn't surprise me because that's where the Vatican, a lot of where modern medicine came from was Italy. But there's this website that I got those screenshots from yesterday called the Societal Impact of Pain. It is a multi-stakeholder platform in Europe. So this Societal Impact of Pain, they have a lot of partnerships, are all across, they're like global, and they are studying the new revolutionary technologies to deal with pain. So the Societal Impact of Pain is an international platform created in 2009 as a joint initiative of the European Pain Federation, EFIC, and the pharmaceutical company Grunenthal GmbH, and aims for raising awareness of the relevance of the impact that pain has on our societies, health, and economic systems. So raising awareness of the relevance of the impact that pain has on our society's health and economic systems. So they're looking at how pain influences economic systems, society, and health. Exchanging information and sharing best practices across all member states of the European Union. Developing and fostering European-wide policy strategies and activities for an improved pain care in Europe. So now I'm not saying this is scary, but this is something interesting because it could be used in conjunction if it was something that it wasn't going to totally destroy you, in conjunction with J-Juice. So listen to this. So the platform provides opportunities for discussion for healthcare professionals, pain advocacy groups, politicians, healthcare insurance providers, representatives of health authorities, regulators, and budget holders. The scientific framework of the SIP platform is under responsibility of the European Pain Federation. Cooperation partners for SIP are Pain Alliance Europe and Active Citizenship Network. The pharmaceutical company Grunenthal GmbH is responsible for funding and non-financial support. Milestones of the SIP platform. 2011, the Societal Impact of Pain, a roadmap for action. Okay, 2014, Informal Health Conclusion, Italian Presidency, Informal Health Council. 2016, 8 policy recommendations, time for action. 2017, policy recommendations, 2017. 2018, position paper, 2018-2019, SIP thematic network, joint statement. And then here you can find the complete overview of organizations that have endorsed one or more SIP annual events. And so then that's the about us. And then their partners are, like I just said, that, which is the European Pain Federation, the Grunenthal Group, which is a pharmaceutical company, and then Pain Alliance Europe and Active Citizenship Network. So who are the endorsers? Spain, Germany, Netherlands, United Kingdom, Belgium, Italy, Portugal, France, Austria, Croatia, Malta, Ireland, Switzerland, United States, Sweden, Greece, Poland, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Finland, Luxembourg, Romania, Russia, Slovenia, Albania, Australia, Bulgaria, Cyprus, Denmark, Estonia, Israel, Kosovo, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldova, San Marino, Serbia, Slovakia, South Africa, and Ukraine. So this is basically all over the world. They are studying pain on how to mitigate this and what is going to be, and it's scary and it's not, okay? Because I don't want to induce fear in anybody. But this came from, now when you read the actual Hippocratic Oath, the Decalogue, that was, let me go back to that. The Hippocratic Oath, let me just kill that, go back in here. I'll give you guys that link in a minute, in case you're wondering. Okay, the SIP platform, I'm gonna copy and paste this. Copy, Control-V, paste. Ooh, then cancel, I didn't mean to do that. I hate when things look like they're, okay. All right, there's that. Okay, so happy birthday, SIP. Against pain, and Hippocratic Oath for all doctors of all specialties. The set of commitments is 14 September 2016, 18 hours and 39 minutes. The set of commitments, which has been handed over to the Pope Francis and presented at the United Nations General Assembly, aims to ensure that equality in access to pain care becomes a worldwide priority at health, humanitarian, and ethical level. The 10 commitments are addressed to doctors of all specialties. So this is the whole platform for doctors. This is why Jiggly Juice will never really be promoted and pursued in a doctor's office officially, okay? So this is why I never said I'm a doctor, just so those that are misquoting me out there, purposely out there on the different blog sites, I have never ever said I'm a doctor. Okay, my book does not say I'm trained as a doctor. I have no medical background, none. But I have independent research and science, which can be used in medical school, but it's not strictly only for medical doctors that understand science. People who are not medically trained have the ability to do research and understand science and biotechnology and biodiversity, just so you're aware, okay? You don't have to be a doctor to understand science and to understand the methodologies they are using for specific reasons, okay? So the 10 commitments are addressed to doctors of all specialties. The Decalogue: I am a doctor and respect the Hippocratic Oath. That's number 1. Number 2, I have to treat pain. Number 3, I must take care of the suffering that comes from pain. I have to work for the wellness of the person. I have to consider essential the quality of care. I have to commit myself to ensure that access to care to all people is guaranteed wherever they are born and live. I have to avoid inequalities and treat all people regardless of age, gender, ethnicity, and religion. I have to base treatment decisions on the respect of the will of the person and in defense of the human dignity. I have to snare and promote the knowledge on pain care. This is my commitment to improving the quality of life of people with pain. And then the commitment against the pain manifesto, that word comes out again, that's interesting. The commitment against the pain manifesto of the Italian doctors can be read here in Italy only. A press release on the presentation to the Pope and the UN General Assembly is available here. It's a link, you guys, in Italian only. And then the initiative has been developed thanks to an unconditional grant by Grunenthal, Italy. Okay, so this is exactly what the whole world in the medical association is focusing on. So they don't really ask why pain, well, maybe they do, and I'm not going to pretend that they don't, because I'm sure that they have something written in their archives or in their background of why pain happens. But I would love to see them actually state that the prostaglandin hormone, which I've seen here and there, and I have it substantiated in my second book that it's not published yet, that the prostaglandin hormone is a hormone that elicits the sensation of pain and it aids in the healing process. They're not going to probably mention that because their whole point is to inhibit pain. So what would inhibit hormones? What would stop certain hormones or hormones at all or sensations from coming to surface being felt by the client? Well, there are specific poisons, there's methodologies, okay? We have, first of all, we have taking out organs, we have removing organs as a method to mitigate pain. We have obviously very strong pharmaceutical drugs that will go and elicit hormones because it is a type of poison, a type of combination of compound elements that will go and target very specific situations, specific diseases, specific areas of the body to mitigate pain. Or there is a very specific type of drug that will just overall anesthetize you, like Tylenol or NSAIDs or different types of steroid types of things that will be either targeted, like you get those shots that will then get put into like your back or your shoulder, wherever you have pain, or you just take something through the mouth, or you rub cream, like that arnica stuff that they use in the holistic allopathic world, which are very, very, very heavy types of negative elements, poisons that will stop the pain sensation, stop the healing process. So it's going to be scary for those that don't understand J juice, and they won't think of it as scary. But when you have children that are now, you're seeing that kids, I mean, I'm seeing all over Facebook and news articles that children are committing suicide at a much faster rate, more depressed. They're dealing with so many different mutations and so many different issues. Maybe they have a lot of pain, they have mutations in their thought process, and they don't know how to sort out these overwhelming feelings. And so that starts their journey of this whole pain mitigation type of thing, which is going to further mutate them even more. So it's like, what are we really doing here? What is going on? What are we doing here? And it is scary, and you're going to be watching. I mean, you're going to look at Facebook and all the news, but you're going to be watching people do these types of practices where they're going to be utilizing all of these different methodologies to mitigate pain, and it's going to further mutate the child as well as the adult, because the system doesn't want people to suffer. And I understand it's a very honorable platform, but the road to hell is paved by good intentions. And why humanity is suffering is because they have not fixed the mutations from years and years and years ago. Now, back a long time ago, well, not a long time, like 1960s, I mean, we only had like one or two vaccines. And so we had mutations, people were dying, but they weren't suffering. I mean, they were and they weren't. I don't know if back in the 1940s and 1930s, was there chronic pain? Was there all of these crazy diseases like fibromyalgia, or were they very, very few and far between that they weren't reported? It's hard to say, but it seems that way back, in the Indian days, or back in the days of the kings and queens, when they were reigning for like 30 or 40 years, yeah, they were in pain and they dealt with it, but they used all these different herbs and then they just died. So I think pain has been probably something that humanity has dealt with for many, many years. And sometimes they've dealt with it the wrong way, like bleeding a patient out. But, I only have, as far as evidence to suggest how many diseases that we were dealing with, just from, information from our government, like the CDC, that may have gone back to the 1960s. Yeah, I mean, it can go back to 1930s and we can go and look and see what diseases were present back then. But as far as the whole pain thing, I know that they did practice some type of herbal type of topicals for like Henry VIII, because he did have some kind of like rotting flesh disease, and dealing with that during his reign. But it's not something I actually go and actively go and research to see which leaders out there were dealing with that. But now it seems that this is going to be even more so with the more mutations that we're dealing with. And so when you deal with all of these mutations with pain, and you're seeing the lifespans become shorter and shorter, you're seeing kids that are being born so mutated that they have, they don't really have the full capacity to protect themselves. And so they're also working off of many mutations, which means that yes, they will adapt, and they will adapt the best they can, and they will go into a profession and be really good at it for a certain amount of time, which is great. I mean, that's what people are looking for, is for you to overcome and adapt and overcome. I mean, that's what really is the basis of our society, because we haven't figured out how to actually fix the mutations, is to adapt to your mutation, overcome it by saying, okay, well, I'm going to go into this profession, be a lawyer or something, and I have autism or any other kind of thing, and that's okay, that's fine. But what happens is when you are sustaining a mutation, it shortens your life. So I'm not discounting anyone with a handicap that is able to still overcome their situation and still go to college and still go to a trade school and still be very good in their profession. However, it's just now a tinderbox of more mutations that are going to be coming to surface, because you are now compounding the issues by not actually reversing it and getting to the root cause, which is taking care of those mutations that happened to begin with to cause you to have this kind of diagnosis. Okay, so when you're seeing people who don't have autism or don't have any kind of obvious disease, and they may have had a drug problem in their earlier life, and then they change their ways, and they do like a bunch of exercises, and they go to college and they get their degree, and they're doing amazing in their profession for maybe like 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 years, and then one day they drop from an autoimmune disorder. That's what we're looking at. But it's going to happen at a faster rate. The time in between them, changing their life and then still have the mutations, right? And then they go into like a lifestyle that may have given them more mutations, change their life, and then get back on the right track, go to college and do all that, fit within society. The time in between them changing their life to the point of when they actually contract disease, it's going to be shorter and shorter, because you have now more mutations. Okay, and you're working off of a bunch of mutations from your predecessors that were left unchecked. And so kids that are born from parents that already have issues and mutations, they're going to sustain those mutations and develop new ones, as well as develop even new ones, because they're exposed to a population that all have different types of ones. I mean, it's gonna, and then they're gonna be in pain, and then guess what? The society, against pain and all that, the SIP is going to then work with biotech to figure out more methodologies, more poisons, because it is poison, using certain procedures and drugs to figure out how to target it. And that's why they're studying that lady who doesn't feel pain at all, which means her prostaglandin hormone was turned off, which means that if you don't feel pain at all whatsoever, you're not going to know how to fix something. You turned your idiot lights off. And so the Hippocratic Oath is not that it's not like they're purposely trying to kill you out there. They're just they don't know how to educate a population that doesn't understand that pain is healing. How do you tell a population of so many different types of people, when they're in agony, okay, when they have so many mutations, how do you tell someone you got to deal with the pain? You got to deal with the pain. You can't. And so it's like, unless you can really give them a good argument, and you'd have to work with them individually or on like a type of platform like the SIP to have people understand this, but not everybody wants to understand this. And then that would create this negative connotation that they're trying to torture. It's like the Vatican and back in the 1500s in Europe, they did a lot of those torture things, like the Tower over in England. They were inflicting pain on their prisoners, torture. They do that now to try to get people to talk and inflict pain on people. So anytime pain is even involved in any equation, it's going to then have an obviously natural horrible connotation that it is a torturous thing, which is why I've been getting a lot of backlash, because they're like, what the hell, Jillian? How do you bring up pain when it's supposed to be mitigated? Okay, so there's no way that any government is going to try to, government of maybe like thousands and thousands of people, not millions, but thousands, right? Try to tell 7 billion people on the planet they must deal with the mutations. They must be in pain in order to heal, to then potentially live forever, right? If they even want to go there, which they're not, or potentially regrow an arm or a limb. You're not going to see the Vatican say that to their millions and millions of constituents or people. They would get laughed off the freaking stage. Already, the Pope and all the different government agencies out there are being laughed off by the conspiracy people. So imagine they would say, hey, pain is healing. You got to deal with the pain if you want to deal with getting everything back to what it's supposed to be. I mean, they're the ones that had access to all the science. Why didn't they know this years and years and years ago before these mutations compounded each other? So now it's like they almost painted themselves in a corner to say, okay, well, we're going to be actively going against pain, and we can't say that pain is healing because that would be then reversing everything we said for so many centuries. And so, it is what it is. And then there's the Hippocratic Oath, Hippocrates. And I haven't even looked at whatever it is. And it sounds like Hippocrates sounds like a hypocrite. See, you see what let me look up something, because a hypocrite means someone. Let's look up hypocrite. I'm going to go to Google. I hate being. Hippocratic Oath and hypocrite. What the heck? Isn't there some kind of correlation when you're I don't know. Hypocrite. Let's just look up the word hypocrite for shits and giggles. A person who indulges in hypocrisy. The story tells of a respectable Ben who turns out to be a cheat and a hypocrite. Sanctimonious person, a pietist, white sepulchre, plaster saint, humbug, a pretender, an imposter. Okay, a deceiver, a dissembler. Okay, so there's a lot of hypocrites we have in our society. Then we have the Hippocratic Oath, which seems like it's spelled differently, which I wonder if that's intentional. Hippocrates, here we go. Hippocrates. He's a Greek physician. So let's look up Hippocrates. Hippocrates for the Hippocratic Oath. Ooh. He's born in 460 BCE. Wow. So this is some stuff that happens like way long time ago. Okay. He 460 BC, island of Kos, died 375 BC. Okay. Wow. 460 BCE, 375. Interesting. Okay. Physician who lived during Greece's classical period and is traditionally regarded as the father of medicine. It is difficult to isolate the facts of Hippocrates' life from the later tales told about him, or to assess his medicine accurately in the face of centuries of reverence for him as the ideal physician. About 60 medical writings have survived that bear his name, most of which were not written by him. He has been revered for his ethical standards, medicine practices, mainly for Hippocratic Oath, which is suspected he did not write. Oh, interesting. Okay. So his contemporary is Plato. So yeah, you guys can look and, look at all that. Let's see. Meno and Aristotle specifically stated in his History of Medicine reviews Hippocrates on the causation of disease, namely that undigested residues were produced by unsuitable diet and that these residues excreted vapors which passed into the body generally and produced disease. So Aristotle said that Hippocrates was the great physician, but he was small in stature. Okay, but it seems that being a hypocrite and a deceiver, why that word, even though it's H-Y instead of H-I, which I'm wondering it was changed so you didn't kind of catch on to the actual root, and that maybe somebody was trying to say that there's something hypocritical going on with the whole Hippocratic Oath. I don't know, that's my speculation, because I know that words have a lot of meanings, words have worlds, and they tell you the root meaning behind it, the root cause, like methylation, methane, meth, all these, like meth. So you understand that the root word is meth, and then they have the way how meth is manifest and in what different forms. So there's methylation, methane, you can go and Google all that. But so there's a lot of Greek history, and maybe they've taken people from back then and subverted their works to fit whatever current thought process. But I mean, I'm only going to say that I think the pain research societies out there have an honorable intention, but it's easier to say that that they're trying to help you by mitigating the pain, because that's the current thought process, than to say maybe we got it wrong for many centuries and maybe we made something up, that these things that were made up, like the Hippocratic Oath, didn't come from Hippocrates. But they have to have a history behind this stuff somewhere, right? Have people been rewriting history? I'm sure they have. I mean, everything gets perceived through somebody's, perspective. So, so I don't know. It's definitely it's fascinating, but at least you get to, at least you're seeing how the medical industry, why they attack things the way they attack it, why they manage things the way they manage it, and why jelly juice wouldn't fit within the context, wouldn't fit within their purview. And then what is my saving grace is the fact that the jelly juice, houses 13 million colony-forming units of live active cultures. When you have antibiotics like peppermint oil, like mercury, like any of I want to say fluoride, bentonite clay, diatomaceous earth, nothing alive, nothing can live in antibiotics because it's anti-life. Antibiotics are anti-life. So the fact that my government, who refers to doctors, scientists, all the different, people in biotech. I mean, the Cleveland Clinic is like right next to the Ohio Attorney General over there in Cleveland. Okay, they're not that far apart. So I'm sure they have consultants that looked at my information. And first, I'm sure she went over and asked somebody to figure out the 10 questions to ask me so they could at least see that my juice was a probiotic, not an antibiotic, because that's what I touted before I was probed by officials. That's according to the news stories out there. Jillian Epperly, jelly juice, probed by officials. Yeah, not literally probed, but yes, they were asking me to substantiate. And so, yes. So if 13 million colony-forming units are able to live in 1 tablespoon of salt, it means that this is a life-giving type of drink. It is a pro-life drink. There is nothing antibiotic, because when you eat something that has live active cultures, that's good for you. Okay? Animals need live active cultures. My dog, I'm telling you, my dog, her fur coat is so soft and so iridescent. I mean, my dog is probably the best, healthiest dog you'll ever. I mean, my dog is like a dog when it's just new, like a new puppy. When you get from like the pound, or not from the pound, from somebody who bred like a private breeder, who when the dog is able to leave its mother and it's big enough to be taken home, and it's just the coat is so soft and the face is so fuzzy and they act so playful and they're so beautiful. And then that's how my dog is at 8 years old. Okay, an 8-year-old dog that looks like that she was just adopted from a private breeder who took care of the animal, not from the pound. Okay, so this is a live active culture that is so good for you. So that's how it fits in with the allopathic holistic world. But then where it doesn't fit in is because it induces pain, because pain is healing. And that is not the purview of the AMA. They're trying to mitigate pain. That the whole thing with the Hippocratic Oath, dealing with pain, they are against the pain. They don't want to have, I guess maybe they're reeling from the fact that they did practice torture back in the days, and they don't want to have that connotation anymore. They're torturing their patients. It's admirable, but very misguided. Okay? It's admirable, but very misguided, and it's going to be detrimental to future generations to come, but they're not going to see that. That's why we have this other thought process. Thank God we have a choice. Thank God we have a choice. Thank God for law and order. Thank God for the American justice system. Thank God for America. So maybe we did have to go away from Europe for a minute because we need to have a different thought process. If we were to stay in Europe and not have America, would we have had the freedom of thought back when we left? Whoever was in charge back then, I forget. I can go look at my history books. But I'm just saying that, thank God we have this ability to be able to now explore the reasoning behind the medical system, and not to demonize them. Really, they're not really the demons here. They're just acting in the best interest of the knowledge of the average man, and they have their own history. The medical industry has their own history of torture, of experimentation on unsuspecting people, and they don't want to have that type of bad press. They don't want to have that connotation. So what are they going to do? They're going to find every way possible to try to mitigate pain. But again, remember, it's balance. Everything is balance. They don't want to be giving you so many drugs to where you become a drug addict, but it does happen. It happens. But that's not their intention. So that's where the doctor has the three things they're juggling. They're juggling their commitment to the AMA, making sure they follow all the rules. They have their clients and their patients' best interests. They got to deal with the pain, but then they also have to deal with the money stuff. If a client says, hey, I'll pay a bunch of money for all of these opioids and writing all these prescription drugs and all of that, that's another thing that the doctor has to also factor in is, he's got to make money too. So but that isn't ethical, and that's obviously against, his moral conduct. However, they do that, but that's the things that these doctors struggle with. Okay, they got to make a living, and they got to deal with the patients, and then they got to deal with the AMA. But I don't think these doctors that are really truly trying to help people are really doing anything inherently wrong. It's just that's the way they were trained. So now we have the ability, we have the opportunity to understand that we do have those pain resources, the pain medication resources, if you have to use them while you're healing. Because when you do take in Jilly juice, it's going to release the prostaglandin hormone. You're going to feel pain, and you have to feel pain for a certain amount of time because your body has to heal at some point. And there's that balance that you're going to have to figure out. I can't tell you how to figure out the pain thing because I'm not your doctor, and I'm not going to prescribe you all these painkillers because that's not my purview, is to stop the pain, to stop the healing. But you as an individual know what you can handle psychologically and physically, because pain can psychologically, it changes people. It really does. And so that's why you have access to doctors, to therapies. But it's something that is individual, that I cannot say specifically on a universal pat answer for everyone when it comes to their own healing process. I can give you a universal protocol that would work universally on all humans because nobody is an alien. But how you implement this protocol is based upon what you can manage. And I've been kind of hard on people too. I've been kind of hard on people because it's like, I want them to take themselves to the next level. And of course, you can't force someone to get to the next level. You can't force somebody to do that. Okay? And so it's up to them. But then, if you're not going to go to the next level, and that's fine, then just chill out. Okay? Because, I chill out as far as commenting. That's where I'm coming from. Because I have been, I have people that are on my Facebook that are, maybe doing 1 or 2 cups a day, and that's about it. And that's all they can handle. Okay, fine. That's all they can handle. But I mean, it's, yeah, and I've been hard, and I want them to do more to get more of the benefit, but maybe they can't handle it. And I probably need to be more patient with those types. But, you know, everybody has their process, but I really want you guys. The reason why I've been so aggressive about the J juice is because I want you to see the benefit. I really do. And the only way you're going to see the benefit is if you're more aggressive than not. But how do you tell someone go torture yourself if they're not ready to do that? See, that's the fine line that I have to play. So why I give more press to the diehards is because they're seeing the rapid results. Someone that's doing like 1 or 2 cups a day, or a teaspoon here or a tablespoon there, they're not going to see too many results. So it's not going to really make an impact on J juice, really, because it's no different than just taking a side dish of sauerkraut and eating it with your side dish with your food. Okay, great. Everybody does side dishes of sauerkraut, but nobody really eats sauerkraut in the amounts that they should, because it's too much. And you're not getting the real recipe of J juice with sauerkraut. So I'm not doing J juice as a side dish. J juice has some amazing benefits that you got to be kind of aggressive at it. And if you're not, then don't worry about talking about it on my Facebook. Okay? I really want to, because that's why I push it to be aggressive, because that's how you see the rapid healing. And that's how then you don't get bored by this, because it's torturous to do 1 or 2 cups a day and you don't see any results. And who wants to choke down 1 or 2 cups a day with no benefit? You realize, yesterday, and I even get to where I'm not complacent, where I get like, because I don't know when it is. Am I going to plateau? When do I have more healing go? But then just the other day, I felt a major calmness. I got my period, by the way, guys. So, my whole adrenaline the last week, like from April 1st all the way, was from being triggered by some crazy ass articles out there. And then of course having my system fluctuating because of the dropping of the eggs, the ovulation. And then also too, it could be a healing process, because having your period is a type of sickness. Okay? It's a type of sickness in a lot of ways, because it does throw your hormones off balance. Having PMS and having PMDD is really a sign of an underlying cause. Good morning, Krista. Women are not supposed to get PMS or the more aggressive form of PMDD. Okay? They're supposed to have their period, I guess, but then this is based upon, the context and science on a death trajectory. As far as period and jelly juice, that remains to be seen. I have my theories. Have the theories been proven? No, but they do make sense. And I do hope to prove those theories way down the road, but it may not happen, given that I do live in a very pathogenic society that I'm able to adapt to and overcome and fix some mutations. But my uterus and my reproductive system still will be reacting from the signals of the environment. Okay? So, maybe the 5G, maybe the chemtrails, maybe, the air that I breathe is still going to have me have my period, but not cause other issues such as cancer, disease, and chronic illness, because I'm countering, those specific illnesses and such with the right elements. So I'm keeping my hormones, my antibodies, and my yeast all well balanced, but the reproductive system still maybe is a backup just in case something happens. I don't know. So we'll see. But it's been exactly since February 8th that I had my last period. So I'm like right on time. But anyways, so yeah. the medical system, they truly try to help people in such a way, but I'm thinking that the road to hell is paved by good intentions, and we're going to see a lot more issues as we keep attacking our pain with negative elements that are out there. So yeah, anyway, so I got my period, which okay is fine. Oh, and by the way, the water. So I'm done with this whole thing with the water. I got a zero water filter like last year and didn't really have any problems with it, but then, I'm getting these one filters in the water filter that would make the water taste like fish, or then make it taste really like have an aftertaste. Like the minerals in there or something in there was causing the water to taste awful. So I finally am like done with the zero water filter. I threw away all the filters, kept the container because it's a good container. And so I've been experimenting with, okay, I'm using my tap water, and then it does smell like chlorine. So I know they use chlorine. Do they use chloramine? That's probably one of the things that doesn't just dissipate, because when you leave tap water after there's just been that chlorine is only being used along with other stuff, that you leave it out for like 24 hours and it dissipates and it tastes fine. But there are some utility companies that use chloramine. And when you use chloramine, there's two ways that you can get rid of the chloramine. You either boil it or you put fruit in it. Now, I use the apples because that's all I had available was the apples. But what the apples do is they leave sugar residue. It's a sugar residue. And so what happens is it colors the water. And then when you leave it in like a water dish for a while, it then creates mold. Okay? So don't use apples. It actually recommended to use a rind of a lemon or an orange, like a citrus rind. And so that's what I did. I bought an orange the other day. I don't buy oranges. I mean, they're good. Actually, this orange was actually good. I was pretty impressed. But so I might buy more oranges. I don't know. But I get all my vitamin C from the cabbage and the kale, so I don't worry about too much buying a lot of fruit. But anyways, so I took, so I did the tap water. I've poured out the apple water, put tap water in there, cut up my oranges, ate all of the pulp in there, and then I saved the other rinds, put like 3 or 4, when I cut it in like quarters, in the water, put the cap on so no stuff gets in there, and then left it overnight. And when I tasted it this morning, it tasted so good. And I'm like, there you go. This is what would kill off the chlorine and the chloramine. It tasted fine. And then I drink my juice. I'm not worried about the fluoride. Okay, because when you do see calcification, like when you see in the water distiller, okay, when you see the bottom of the water distiller, you see all these minerals. It's just minerals. It could be fluoride, it could be calcium, it could be other types of deposit, but it's minerals. Your body needs minerals. Okay, it's not like you're trying to be mineral deficient, because that's how cancer disease and chronic illness happens, is because mineral deficiencies. And that's why they're so focused on people getting their minerals and everything, but you're getting it in the wrong way. However, so, when you're doing J juice, you're getting minerals too. And there's minerals in the water and minerals in your food, minerals in your food and your drink and all of that. But when you're taking in the right combination of minerals, and then you also apply it to the body that adheres to the laws of your immune system and your digestive system and all the 11 different systems, you're going to excrete excess minerals, excess antibodies. So when you get drug tests, what do they count for? How many antibodies are present for THC? And if they see there's more antibodies present than a regular person who doesn't smoke pot, then that's how they pop you for a drug test, okay? That's how it works. So, when you're excreting excess minerals, that's why it doesn't make sense to drink freaking urine. People who are doing urine therapy are taking in the excess minerals the body left plus other pathogens, and they're trying to manage their disease that way, and they're giving it, and I've heard people give it to their kids, okay? They're giving their own urine to their children. That's gross. That is gross. So, when your body excretes stuff out of do not drink your urine. It's the excess minerals that the body doesn't need. All right. And so, so don't worry as far as the tap water. You don't need to buy any fancy filtration systems. You don't need to buy any fancy filters. You don't need to go buy any fancy distillers. That's no more. The system keeps things relatively well balanced, as far as a cross section of people. And then we then have the individual responsibility, like the medical system. They get everybody they cater to the lowest common denominator. They get everybody, balanced enough, stabilized relative to their condition. But it's up to you to fix your mutations. It's up to you to have lifestyle choices. It's up to you to do a little bit more research than what they're giving out there to the general population. I mean, Target. This reminds me, when I went to go shopping at Target, I spent like $500 one time at Target. They mass produce clothing for the masses. It's like very benign, neutral clothing where it's not too specialized in the style. Like when you go to Macy's, there's very special styles, or you go to like Charlotte Russe or any of those different, off the rack type stuff. No, but when you go to Target, it's like clothing for the masses, because they're not trying to cater to a specific person. They're just trying to give to the masses. Hey, you need clothes? We got clothes for you, made in China. Yeah, they're cheap. Yeah, they're like this is from Target. Okay, I buy my clothes from not Target, well, Walmart or Target, and it's just clothing that it's pretty enough. It looks kind of stylish, but not too stylish, and that's it. It isn't specialized for a specific type. Okay, so that's what the medical industry, that's what the utility industry does. They just create the water. They treat the water relative to the masses. Now it's up to you to either counter the excess elements that are in there, and then also look at your own self. Are you bringing to the table so many mutations that maybe some of the minerals in that water supply to deal with bacteria is going to adversely affect you? Why isn't everybody getting some kind of issues with fluoride or whatever? I don't know how a person would then prove that the water supply caused their disease. I don't think anybody has proven that their water, unless of course it was like from Flint, Michigan, where the water was like on fire. I think that was but then you wouldn't be drinking it if the water is like flammable. Okay. So like here in Canton, Ohio, if you do have a water leak somewhere and you see the calcium deposits, you see all these mineral deposits, yeah, it's going into your system. But remember, you have a digestive system. You have a filtration system that will release excess minerals to decalcify your pineal gland, to decalcify other parts of your body. But if you're not taking in the right elements like salt and electrolytes and lactobacillus and water and all that, yeah, you're going to have a buildup in you. No different than a buildup on the outside of your faucets when you have a leak. Okay? So it's understanding how these elements work so that way you're not fearful and you're not buying major expensive shit that you don't need. But I'll tell you, they capitalize on the fear. I mean, I still see Real Pharmacy and Natural News, which is one of the Alex Jones type of people, subsidiaries or something, that are just inducing so much fear. They are totally like demonizing one element. And that's what my naysayers are doing. And they don't realize this, but that's what they're doing. They're taking one element out of my recipe and they pretend that chemistry isn't involved. And they capitalize on that one element and they separate it out from the rest, completely oblivious to chemistry. And then they go and look for all the articles that'll say pure salt or even salt water, whatever, but pure salt, okay, this is how it harms you. So they're researching the wrong context. They're not taking into account the cabbage water and salt and lactofermentation and the lactobacillus and the fact that 13 million colony forming units can actually live in this 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 cups of water, and then 2 cups or so of the cabbage or the kale. What creates lactobacillus? It's a nutritive element. What is that? That is either sugar, but you don't want to be capitalizing on sugar you don't want to be fermenting sugar because it feeds your cancer. But what's the other nutritive element? It's the salt and what's the nutritive element? It's not sugar, it's the fruit. But fruit sugars will then cause or feed the cancer. The other nutritive element is the cabbage and kale. So sugar and salt they foster an environment for lactobacillus, for live active cultures, okay? But the one that is better for you is the salt-based lactobacillus, but it has to be paired with the right elements. If you're pairing the salt and sugar and lactofermentation with fruit or a vegetable, then the lacto-fermented fruit is going to feed cancer, and that's also part of the alcohol industry because when you ferment sugar, it turns into alcohol, okay? So that's obviously not good for you. But when you ferment vegetables like cabbage and kale with the salts, that that then creates live active cultures. And that's why it can't kill you. But we have people who don't understand chemistry. The pure ignorance in our society that doesn't understand chemistry will go and isolate one element out of a recipe and then go and demonize it and find all the evidence only for that one element, completely ignoring the cabbage, the kale, the probiotics, lactobacillus, and my juice was tested by a food lab. Okay, a food lab. So once the food lab gave me the result that's 13 million colony forming units, I know that's 13 million testimonies for my juice. That should be good enough for anybody. And you all have the ability to go and test my juice in your own food lab in your own area. Mine was in Columbus, Ohio, a very mainstream food lab that deals with huge Fortune 500 companies. Okay? I didn't get some off the beaten path little lab down the street that nobody knows about. No, I used a food lab that everybody knows. A mainstream, because all I knew, because it's all there really is, food labs, I don't think they come like in little mom and pop shops, but I mean, when I did Google it back when the OAG asked me, can you please prove this is a probiotic? Well, somebody asked me, one of my good friends on Facebook asked me, have you ever thought of getting this juice tested? I'm like, I don't know what you test for. And then I did some, did some research and I was talking over with the sales lady who was actually a PhD in molecular or something, in biology or something. And she was saying, well, I was talking to her, should I be testing for vitamins and nutrition or vitamins and all that? She's like, no, because that's always going to fluctuate. There's no point in testing for vitamin A, B, C, because there's no point in that because it's always going to fluctuate. So you don't be held to numbers like that. But test for because really the whole point is it's a probiotic. That was the whole point, is to prove it was a probiotic. And so, and those numbers will fluctuate based upon, on just the conditions. Because sometimes, 3 days in one area when they have a temperature, which is a variable, my temperature around that time was probably around 80 degrees. But I say you can grow probiotics between 65 and 72 degrees with this recipe, but we all have different climates that we live in. So maybe you're in 80 degrees, so 3 days in 80 degrees, you'll have probably double the amount of lactobacillus. And then somebody that's in a colder climate that is between 65 and 72, and it's a little bit colder outside, so it's bringing the temperature down inside, they may not have as many. So it depends upon the variables, and so you're never going to get like an accurate count, but you'll see that the lactobacillus does grow. How much is relative to the climate outside, because temperature has everything to do with how much grows, how much live active cultures grow. Okay, so that so people who don't understand chemistry or probiotics, that will go over their head, and they will only capitalize on what they know, what they see on Google. So we have Google scientists that are they're very narrow, because I have some haters out there that write articles about me who hate Google scientists, but yet they seem to be a Google scientist against my stuff. So they're just like me, but coming from a different perspective. And there's nothing wrong with that, because people have to find something that they could feel comfortable enough to make their choices, to confirm their choices, their belief system, and that's perfectly fine. But I'm also very credible as well as a Google scientist. So you can be a Google scientist and use the American Cancer Society as your substantiation, but I also use a bit more deeper than that. I'm a bit more of a researcher than just the American Cancer Association confirming that salt is horrible. I actually look up probiotics, because that's what Jilly Juice is a probiotic. I actually go into, PubMed, the National Institute of Health, government academic articles. And I'm not even a degreed. Some of these people who are degreed, that have all of these beautiful degrees, don't even know how to use their degree to their benefit. They only look at very superficial websites. They don't look deeper than the American Cancer Society talking about salt. Well, if you're going to Google salt, you're never going to find anything about probiotics. So yeah, of course you're going to substantiate your belief system, but you're taking it out of context. And this is what I deal with, is the ignorance out there that takes my information out of context, mischaracterizes it, and then goes and blasts it to people and who don't know any better. And so ignorance begets ignorance. It's like the blind leading the blind. And that's what we deal with on Jilly Juice, is a blind leading the blind. And that's unfortunate, but that's the way of the world. And that's what the government has to deal with. So they have to cater to the lowest common denominator, and they have to assume everybody is stupid, even though you're not stupid. Those of you that are doing J-Juice, even though you're not stupid, and those of you who are not doing J-Juice, you're not stupid either. You're just not fully informed yet on what the power of J-Juice is. But they have to treat you as if you are, because they don't know and they can't go and figure out and ascertain how smart or how dumb you are. So then you are the ones going to have to take care and reverse your mutations. They give you a set of tools to work with. You work with them, and then you add more or less to it relative to what you know. And that's how it works in our society. When you live in a global society, when you live with other people that you can't legislate morals to, you can't make that guy down the street fix his mutations. So he's going to be pathogenic down the street. He's going to mutate all of his bacteria, breathe all over you, age rapidly, and then you will be the one to either take on those mutations and then mutate it again and be sick, or you'll be the one to then have a very well-balanced body to then deflect all of those pathogens and do not allow it to mutate you to where you're now pathogenic, mutating a virus to then turn into the 25th strain for a vaccine. Okay, you're seeing all over Facebook that, yes, people who have been vaccinated are getting the measles. You know why? Because these strains are mutating faster than we can say boo. So the vaccine industry is not going to be able to keep up with the amount of mutated strains of the measles. So yes, of course, these people who have been vaccinated are going to get the measles, because these strains are mutating, because we have people who are sick, inflamed, and pathogenic, not being quarantined, spreading their disease everywhere. If you are aging, you are spreading your disease. If you are sick, you are spreading your diseases to everybody. That's why we have to now teach this side of the health side that's not fitting into the model of the AMA to say, hey, you have the opportunity, even though they're working with the lowest common denominator, that you can actually have a better quality of life. These are the possibilities. You got to deal with pain. And if you choose not to, then you can't afford to complain. If you choose to, that's awesome. You're going to see your politics change. You're not going to be focusing on all the depressing things of our society. You're not going to be doing your activism. You know, people say like, oh yeah, well, you know, activism is also doesn't have to be fear. Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. Those of you that support me, I don't think you're an activist. I think that you just understand my information. What is an activist? Let's look at what an activist is, okay? Because if people justifying their activism. What is activist definition? I'm going to use Bing this time. A person who campaigns to bring about political or societal change or social change. Nobody on J-Juice is an activist, because we're not trying to change and legislate morals on people at all whatsoever. We're not trying to change somebody's mind. We're not trying to force someone to comply with what we believe in. We're not doing anything of the sort. We're allowing people to have their belief system, but give them another option. That's it. We're not campaigning for nothing. A person who campaigns to bring about political or social change. Police arrested 3 activists. We're not trying to get arrested. We're not trying to demonize somebody else's belief system. We're giving people the opportunity for another way. That is not activism. Okay? That is not activism. Activism is when you're forcing your thought process and demonizing somebody else down somebody's throat, making them wrong, throwing legalistic jargon at them, okay? Instead of understanding why they do what they do, where they're coming from, and then what we can do as a person to change our own lives so we don't produce those type of people. We can't change the guy down the street. I'm not going to go and be an activist against the guy down the street. It's not my job to go and change his mind about his belief system. It's not my job. When I went on to other people's Facebook pages and said that they were wrong, or, you know, whatever it is. That is an activist. Trolls are activists. That's what trolls are. They are activists. When I drop seeds of information, and that's it, and I have no expectation a person gets what I'm saying, I'm just dropping seeds to those that may or may not understand. That's it. I have no expectation somebody gets it. I don't go out in the street and say, oh my God, abortionists or this or Christians or Jews or this are horrible people. No, because that's not for me to say. Okay, who am I to go and impose my view on somebody else? They do what they do for a lot of reasons that you don't know about. So if I can give somebody an opportunity to learn a different way, then it's them making a choice to entertain me. It's them making the choice to see if I fit within their world, not me throwing up and imposing my will onto their world. See, that's the difference. So no, people that are doing J-Juice are not activists. Okay? They're not activists. I know a lot of you want to justify your activism, and I saw that young lady that did try to refute me, and I wasn't even going to argue with her because I know where she's coming from. She's still an activist. She's still, she still has healing to go, and still wants to justify maybe the anti-vax, maybe the child trafficking, who knows? Okay, but it's like, but there's no point in me trying to make her change her thought process. No, that's not my purview, is to make her wrong. But definitely she wanted to justify her point of view with the intention to maybe make me wrong, right? Or if people wouldn't be debating with you if they weren't trying to change your mind. That's why I don't allow debates, because I don't want my mind changed by you. If I want to change my mind, I'll change it. It's not up for you to go and change my mind and tell me that I'm wrong, or tell me that, no, this is not how you look at it. You look at it this way. Who are you? But remember, these activists do that. They have a very specific right or wrong, which is okay. I understand that. But the law is what actually determines right or wrong, not an individual person's opinion. That's where we have these boundaries that are being completely overshadowed, is that people don't understand that the law is the one that determines who's right and who's wrong, not the individual person. And so this is where a lot of confusion comes from. And so, yeah, activism is people who are highly mutated, highly mutated, because it shows intolerance, it shows fear, and it shows ignorance. So unless you can actually teach somebody without shoving it down their throat on their pages or making them wrong, then you're working from a place of fear, ignorance, and what was it? Fear, ignorance. I forget the third one. But anyways, yeah, it's fear and ignorance. And intolerance. Yes. Fear, ignorance, and intolerance. FII. Okay? And so Chili Juice people are not working from fear, ignorance, or intolerance. We understand why people do what they do. And we allow them to do what they do. And then if they break the law, then we use the law to be the one to determine who's right and who's wrong. Okay? That's why if you don't know the laws, you'll believe all the stories. And so that's why I don't do activism anymore, because the law is the one that determines that. And if you think there are unjust laws, then you're still coming from a conspiracy point of view. And believe me, unjust laws are anyone that is intentionally genociding someone, and that obviously is unlawful. And then the people and the system will counter that very quickly. When we hear planes overhead and we hear that they're going to be dropping bombs, that would be a sign to go and be an activist and get underground. Because running around with a sign saying stop dropping the bombs on us is not going to help you. But we're not going to go there. We're not going there. It hasn't been there. We have all this fear, like, oh yeah, Russia or China or North Korea. But that's all, politics, inducing fear. Yes, we have corrupt people that child traffic. Yes, we have people who violate children. That sucks. Let the law take care of that. And if you think that the agencies are the ones that are doing it, there are corrupt people in agencies that do stupid stuff. Don't paint those agencies as a whole as a corrupt system as a whole, because we have mothers out there that are very abusive. We have parents out there that are very abusive to their children that probably need to be taken away from the home. Okay? So let's understand and not go to extremes, and let the law be the one to decide who's right and who's wrong, because we're not trying to induce anarchy. And so when you're doing J juice, you're going to see the logic behind this, and you're going to use the law as your go-to when it comes to getting justice for whatever it is that you feel has been violated in your world. If it's somebody else, don't worry about them unless you see and have proof. The whole thing with hearsay is just what's been way out of control. Hearsay has become the rule of law, and that's why Facebook has been cracking down on articles. That's why they're doing censorship, because hearsay has become the rule of law, and it actually changes people. It turns people very extreme. It really does. And so I have no problem with Facebook censoring articles that are whipping people into action that should not be whipped into action. Okay? I've been dealing with activists against me. I've been dealing with people who are promoting articles that are telling lies about me. This is why I'm taking the stance, because I have actually been a victim of activism coming from intolerance, fear, and ignorance. And so now I understand. So if you're an activist, then you are promoting people to go basically activist against Jilly Juice. If you're an activist on Jilly Juice, you're a hypocrite. If you're an activist on Jilly Juice, you are a hypocrite, because you are advocating for people to be an activist against me, because it comes from fear, intolerance, and ignorance. That's where it comes from. And that's why I got away from the activism, because I'm not trying to promote that. Take care of you and yours. Don't listen to hearsay, and change your world from within. You can't worry about what happens in somebody else's house. Unless you see it, you call the police. You can't worry about what happens over there at the border. That's not your concern. Let the government take care of that. Okay? So anyways, you guys have a good day. I gotta go take care of some things, but you guys have a good day. Go to jillyjuice.com, JILLYJUICE.com. Get the book. We're working on the second book. Kevin and I are, and he's working feverishly on it too, and me too. And just, do the J juice, feel the pain, understand it. If you have to take pain medication, do what you got to do, but have the intention to heal from many, many years of mutations, and just take it slow, or do whatever at the pace that you think is appropriate for you, and get off the activism, because I'm tired of people activisming against me because of the intolerance, the fear, and the ignorance. Bye.